Hi, it's Liz. Um, I'm just back again, mostly because I just felt like making a video. um, but I have been meaning to talk about. Okay, back up. I made a video. The last video I made was kind of like a coming out video about being gay, and there's like a number of nuances that I did not include. But one of the ones that I meant to include, or not, it's not even nuance, but just analysis, was about compet, compulsory heterosexuality. Now, I don't want to sit around and define it. There's plenty of videos that do that, so like go look it up. Um, but I realized I mentioned it, but I didn't really talk about it. Um, and how it sort of played into my experience. Um, so yeah, I wanted to do that. Um, but I want to start by saying it's not something that was very conscious for me at all, and it's not conscious for most women. Um, but I remember from the time I was a little girl having some understanding that of what was expected of me and what would make me a successful and um, good girl and woman. And I mean, that's a whole, there's a lot I could go into with that. But in terms of sexuality, I mean, it was always very clear that the expectation is that you like boys and that you know, I don't know. That's the performance that's expected at any rate. And I remember even as a little kid, like doing these performances. And I don't want to say little, but I don't know, like young, like 8, 9, 10, participating in these performances. A lot of the times it would be like in class, there'd be one boy that was like the boy that all the girls had a crush on for whatever reason. And he was also the popular boy. And he was the one that, if he paid attention to you, that would translate into social status. And so I participated in this. And I thought, at the time that I like had crushes on these boys. And I guess what I've realized in retrospect, because these were the only times where I quote unquote had crushes on guys who weren't interested in me first, which gets into the whole like, you know, are you do you really want them or do you want to be wanted kind of a thing. When they like you, it's easy to just sort of want to be wanted and kind of feel like that means you have a crush on them. But the only times I ever had a crush on a guy who wasn't explicitly expressing interest in me was these kind of situations. And what I think was thrilling to me was kind of a similar thing. It was the idea that like I wanted him to pay attention to me. I very genuinely wanted that, but that's because of the social status that would mean for me. And that carries into a lot of other, I guess, relationships too, directly or indirectly. Like, you know, if you have to choose between dating a man or a woman when you're a woman, um, dating a woman comes with no social benefits. I mean, saying it comes with no benefits, but no, I mean, unless you're in you have a very well developed um, queer ecosystem that you're living in that is specifically not lesbophobic too, um, you know, nobody's going to reward you for that. And I know it sounds kind of weird to put it that way because people don't explicitly reward you for dating a man, but there's a lot of reward implicitly. Being seen with a man, especially a man that is desired by other women, especially a man who is, whatever, fitting kind of to this ideal of what men are supposed to be like. It comes with a lot of status. And, that wasn't always my main thing when I was dating. Most of my relationships with men were basically just guys who I really liked a lot, and I mean, most of them I still like. The ones that didn't just turn out to be kind of douchebags, but um, but there were people that I really liked, and I enjoyed hanging out with them, and you know, whatever. It's complicated, but it was kind of more about that. It was about men I felt comfortable with. And then when I got married because I found a man who I felt comfortable with, and he sort of expressed this ideal of my sort of ideal in my head of what a man should be and what a husband should be. Um, he's very responsible, very reliable, had a lot of he was a good partner just generally, very honest, very communicative. Um, you know, we got along well, so he's very funny and intelligent, and he's very good looking too. He's very good looking. And, he has wealth too, which was also oh, he can actually materially help me build a family, you know, which is a big deal. And so he just kind of checked all these boxes, and it seemed too good to be true. But when I look back, it's yeah, I was very much thinking about it in this very I don't want to say practical because it wasn't all about practicality, but I was thinking about it in this very analytical way. It's not you know, I mean, I wasn't deeply in love with him the way that people are supposed to be when they get married. And I guess for that reason, I sort of poo-pooed the idea of romantic love. I mean, both of us did, and that's just kind of where we were at in terms of our analysis of things. We just kind of were marriage is about building a family. Marriage is about, personal commitment, and it's about all these things, but it's not about romance. And I still sympathize somewhat with that view, because I think, some romantic connections can be really intense but really unstable, and they're not well suited for marriage. And marriage is meant to be something that's stable. And at least for me, it was about starting a family. And whatever, I guess now I realize that romantic love, that without any of that, there's big problems that tend to come up. I mean, I guess mostly the way I experienced it was we had a lot of we had a lot of struggles, like any married couple. I mean, that's something you got to expect, right, with marriage. And I certainly didn't go into it with a super idealistic vision. The problem is that when you have these problems and you have these challenges that you have to face together, and these challenges with cohabitating and challenges with children and all that, if you don't have any deep romantic love tying all that together, and making it feel worth it, and making it sort of make sense, then after a while there's nothing holding you together really. Um, and it just becomes too hard to deal with these challenges. There's nothing there to kind of fill your cup back up. And there's no deep incentive to literally stay together, right? Because if you're struggling with your friend who you love very much, um there, you aren't necessarily pulled to sort of stay extremely close. You might want to give them space, right? um there's no force that's keeping you literally in the same house, right? um anyway, but my reasons for getting into this marriage were very much like I wanted to achieve the status of being a married woman and having a family. And it just seemed it just seemed inevitable, I guess. Like, it's not even that that's what I wanted or I thought. I mean, that is what I wanted, but it's also just felt like that's just what I have to do. And now that I look back too, I kind of wonder, I mean, I did really want that life. And now I have to wonder how much of that desire is really coming from me, is was really my desire, or how much of it was cultural inertia that I took on. Because it doesn't suit me. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at being a housewife. I really tried to. And I like aspects of it. I like aspects of it if I don't if it's made very easy. If it's made very simple. But it's not the kind of thing I do well under pressure. Cooking and cleaning. And at this point, honestly, I haven't been able to cook for over a year. It's a bit of an, I mean, I have cooked a few times. I'm being simplistic, but my something, I don't know, my anxiety, my nervous system or something will not kind of let me cook most of the time. So that's not great. Uh, that I'm not. I don't know. The whole role is just not really me. Um, but I felt really strongly that that's what I wanted, and I guess I'm glad that I tried it because otherwise I would have still maybe felt like that I was failing to achieve this goal, and now I've achieved it and realized that it's not what I want, or not even beyond what I want. It's not something I can really do. I'm so poorly suited to it. I mean, but it's all been kind of like that. I guess, really, really early on when I was a teenager, I remember thinking about this in this way. I remember thinking that well, I wanted to have sex, you know. And again, it's sort of also something I felt like, well, I better just get on this because, sex is the thing to do. It's just the thing I got to do. And I felt like I didn't have any prospects with women. And I knew even then, as a teenager, that dating women's hard and getting women is hard, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Um, I didn't even have a love interest at my school. I guess I had a few girl crushes when I was in high school, but they weren't huge ones, and I don't know. It just didn't seem worth it to me to pursue that, because it seemed a lot more complicated. I knew a guy who was attracted to me. He made it very obvious, and I liked him, and I felt comfortable with him, and I thought, well, sure, I guess, I can do this with him and learn how to have sex with guys. And I just kind of felt like that's what I had to do. It wasn't really that I wasn't attracted to him. And I wasn't really interested in having sex with guys. But I felt like it was sort of my. Did I feel like it was my duty? I don't know. I just felt like it's something I didn't question. It was just something that it was like, this is just what you do. This is what you do. Then it's easy enough. So I guess, And, ironically, I mean, part of the reason I picked him was because he had a very, I don't want to say feminine look, but he looked like a girl. Like, he looked like kind of a sort of butchy girl, but he had long hair, and he was really slender, and it was easy for me. And I remember my stepmom being so just like, what's a word? What's a word for how she was? She was, I mean, she was upset, but she was also just like shocked, I guess, about my attitude toward him. She's like, you seem like a 40-year-old divorcee or something. Like, this is your first love. I'm like, it's not my first love. It's just like a guy I'm having sex with. And she just thought I was so cynical or something. And it really honestly wasn't. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel, I guess. I just wasn't feeling it, for anyone at that time. So I don't know. I didn't know it was. I was like, I don't know. I'm achieving the age appropriate goal of like, this is what is I'm supposed to do. Like, I don't know why you're complaining. This is how I felt. Because that was, I don't know, the unspoken exception. It's not, I guess, something that comes from a super old time or something, but I did feel like it was the expectation that I was having, that I should have sex with guys as in my late teens. That's just what you're supposed to do. Um, I wouldn't say it was exactly peer pressure, but maybe implicitly. I was trying to, I guess, on some level, just like be an acceptable girl, you know? I I was just trying to check all the boxes. And I think that's a lot of what compet is about. It's like there's all these boxes you're expected to check, and so you do. And I feel like, maybe I don't want to say it was more intense because I'm autistic, but I feel like maybe it was more. This was kind of like just my pervasive experience as a person, not even just in a gendered way. Like, I'm always trying to figure out like what boxes I'm supposed to check to be an acceptable person. And like watching the people around me, like, oh, okay, so they do this. I guess I should also do that. I've gotten a little bit more critical in my analysis of this kind of thing as I've gotten older. But when I was a teenager, um, I mean, I didn't just mimic everyone around me or something. It wasn't that simple. But like, yeah, I was thinking about this stuff. I was watching, and I was trying to figure out how I could achieve acceptable personhood. You know. Um, but yeah, there's just, and I guess, when I started realizing that I was, better described as a lesbian, um, part of the thing that made that hard is that it made me feel as though I had failed at womanhood, which is kind of a weird thing for me to even say because I do identify somewhat with womanhood. I'm non-binary, so it's a little more complicated than that. I wouldn't say I'm not a woman exactly, but even though I have identified as non-binary for a long time, I still have felt all this pressure to perform womanhood and be to be an acceptable woman, I guess. And there is a feeling of failure about not exactly it doesn't come exactly from being with women exactly because I never felt that way about that. I did deal with some shame and denial about my attraction to women when I was like a teenager and like coming out about that, but there's more of a compat thing when it comes to saying I'm not going to be with men at all because proximity to men is so much of what gives you validation as a woman, and specifically the validation of men and the sexual interest of men, is so much of sort of what defines that acceptability for you as a woman. Um, there's layers of it too because there's all these sorts of sort of competitions that we have, like not just can you be acceptable, but can you be desirable and can you be, I don't know, can you check all these boxes for like what we think women are supposed to be like? I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm trying not to do it anymore because it sucks and it ruined my life. And it's not, I don't know, it's not really connected to any meaningful reality, I guess. I don't think. You know? It's something I have been so unconscious of for so long too. So it makes it weird to talk about because I feel like so much of what I'm saying might seem like just super abstract to somebody who'd never kind of gone through some of the experiences I have. If I were to tell all of this to my younger self, that I don't think that they'd get it at all. I don't think there's any way you can really explain some of this stuff to somebody who hasn't like really experienced it because so much of it is unconscious and deeply unconscious. Um, the desire to fit in and the desire to be validated by the people around you and the desire to be successful in the eyes of the people around you is so deeply embedded in us from the time we were just like tiny kids. Tiny. And that's the kind of stuff that is hard to even talk about because it's so much just the water of your life. It's everywhere and nowhere, and it's really difficult to pinpoint and to articulate. And you don't become aware of it until a big wave smacks you right in the face. Maybe that, I don't know if that's a good metaphor or not, but I think it kind of works. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm just rambling. Thank you. Thank you for listening. And, feel free to like and subscribe and all that. And give me comments. I'm like really curious what people have to say about this. Okay.